Blink-183 3.0 is back for the first time with a new record. I don't know what's going on. First full length since 2011. First with a new producer, a recruited member, and the first without Tomas. Depending on who you are, the exciting, scary, wonderful, dreaded moment has arrived. Blink-182's new album, California. It's a complicated time for fans of this band. This record was announced by the band to be a semi-return to form, not just musically, but in a broader sense of band message. Mark and Travis wanted to remind people what Blink-182 is all about. The new producer John Feldman was on board, stating he wanted to make a classic Blink record, something that would honor and showcase the older aspects of the band while still standing on its own. They wanted to take it back to basics, and they wanted to try new things. They just wanted a middle ground. A retro 90s pop-punk modern rock album full of teenage energy by adult men in their 40s. It sounds simple enough. First, let's take a look at the nostalgia tracks. These were the part of the record that aimed to capture some of the sounds and habits that are easily identifiable as Blink. Cynical. With a guitar rhythm we've heard on Josie and the party song, the starting track for the album takes us back sonically while lyrically acknowledging one of the elephants in the room. Whether or not it's time to call it quits. It starts off introspective, but randomly switches over into being a sort of post-apocalyptic love song, shifting to show that the other person is the cynical one and not the songwriter. My guess is this shift in focus is a result of producer John Feldman encouraging the band to write their lyrics as off the cuff as possible. I'm not sure this process was beneficial to the band, and I'll explain why in a little bit as we go into Bored to Death, the first single off the album, and rightfully so. Whatever musical alchemy those guys were working on gelled extremely well on this track. This chorus was made to rule the radio. Bored to Death is one of many, and now many, more Blink songs to showcase the guitar rhythm associated with a lot of Blink music. This very same melodic choice can be found in She's Out of Her Mind, Sober, No Future, and San Diego. This record is not the first time this arpeggio choice has been made, but I'm pretty sure it is the first time it's been used quite so much. The amount that this trait is used drew my attention to it in a way that none of the other Blink records have before. And going for the polar opposite of the less is more theory is something that I think hurt the record more than it helped. She's Out of Her Mind. Along with Rabbit Hole, this song is the best emotional connector to the pre-Untitled aesthetic of Blink. It's got that bright, uplifting vibe that only the poppiest of pop can provide, and with an ever-so-light seasoning of melancholy in both the melody and the lyrics. Can we just take a moment to mention the two joke songs? Whatever your thoughts may be of this album, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that these two tunes are unanimously beloved. I don't know if it's because Mark has been waiting to do this again for 15 years or whatever, but the enthusiasm behind Built This Pool and Bohemian Rhapsody is palpable. And I didn't know I wanted a new joke song from Mark Hoppus until I heard these. So, thank you, Mark. And now, the final callback song, and what may actually be my favorite song from the record, The Only Thing That Matters. It's maybe the simplest song on the record, and the one with the least production effects, and it got me right away for its directness. Not only that, but there's a bite and engagement to Mark's vocals that I really like on this track. He's smooth and measured for the most part on the rest of the tracks, but here it feels like he's letting go a bit and connecting with the energy of this fast, rampaging love song. And now for the tunes that can be found out in left field. Los Angeles is the darkest song in an album that really isn't very dark at all, but the thing that caught my attention about both Los Angeles and Sober was that they struck me as being distinctly and distractingly Fall Out Boyish. And this is before I found out Patrick Stump had actually been sitting in for a bit while they were writing and recording. Oddly enough, I know Stump was there for Sober and San Diego, but the verses of Los Angeles sound so incredibly close to Fall Out Boy's later aesthetic that my mind would be blown if he had actually nothing to do with that song. Now, the chorus of Los Angeles could have also fit effortlessly on an older Good Charlotte record, and it's the end of this chorus that sticks a tiny thorn in my side due to the lyrics. Remember when I mentioned their lyric writing process maybe not being beneficial? Well, this is why. Los Angeles is the fourth Blink song to let me know that the singer won't be coming home. And as of this album, Mark has said it 3 of those 4 times. The reason it bothers me isn't out of annoyance, it's just that I think Mark is doing himself a disservice. He obviously needs no one to tell him he's good at songwriting, so when he repeats a phrase like this, for me, it kills the effectiveness of the phrase, and in turn hacks away a little bit at the reputation he's built for himself as a songwriter. We forgive repetition when it comes to lyrics about love and attraction, because we all know love and horny people make the world go round, but this is a very specific and usually rare action, so it's not the same deal. Saying you're not coming home once is powerful. Saying it 3 times You'll be back. You'll just stop threatening me. I'll leave the door unlocked for you. I really like Home is Such a Lonely Place. The music, the melodies, the backstory of the song being born when Mark and John Feldman met up to talk about what life would be like when their kids head out into the world. Like Los Angeles, it definitely sounds like nothing previously under the Blink banner. And you know what else sounds nothing like Blink? The title track. California. That track's got a serious Jimmy Eat World vibe going on for 75% of the song, and then suddenly blows up into this tidal wave anthem. And while we're talking about the title track, I just want to take a moment to congratulate Mark. I don't think they made them for this reason, but do you have any idea how much money these guys are going to make in royalties with 3 songs about California? Any cop/crime show in Los Angeles? Covered. Teen drama in San Diego? Done. And as for the title track, it looks like Phantom Planet may be about to see a significant cut into their lunch money. Teenage Satellites is another song that's most likely going to be heard all over the place because it's just, that chorus can't be stopped. You will be hearing that song in a bunch of lighthearted teen movies. Now, as for No Future, Kings of the Weekend, and Left Alone, these are the floaters for me. They're there, but I don't really have anything to mention about them, except that Left Alone was said to have been penned by Matt Skiba primarily, and he did a great job on that chorus. That sounds... It gets you. As an album, the major pro of California is that you have a bunch of guys who have been staples of the pop-punk world for 20 years behind it, so it is extremely catchy throughout, and I mean that with capital letters. There are STDs less catchy than these songs. Another thing California has going for it is a great performer in Matt Skiba. He's got an incredibly emotive voice that I enjoyed listening to, and I also just like knowing Mark and Travis finally got to make what seems to be the record they've been wanting to make for years. The band has said on multiple occasions that this was an album made for the fans. It was carefully constructed for mass appeal, and I think it's an album that will succeed in accomplishing that, even if it comes at the expense of a few other things. This may sound weird, but looking back at the band's history, this album for the most part feels like what a stranger who has never heard Blink would imagine Blink to sound like. Just imagine an old man in a distant dystopian future kneeling down by a little neo-punk rocker and saying,
"Let me tell you a story. Back in the days of yore, legend tells of a band called Blink-182. Rambunctious they were, fueled by teenage disappointment, sex jerks, and nah-nah-nahs. The drummer was insane, and oh, how catchy they were. Now, go my son, record an album in their honor."
That's what this record feels like to me, an exaggeration of traits. With the exception of the 3 songs that seem like real wild cards in this mix, and the sudden incorporation of a bajillion woes throughout the record that I'm sure will be the birth of a new drinking game. Disclaimer, don't play, you will die. The album does have some lyrics I really like, and I hold on tight but not enough to hold you back, being one of them. But overall, John Feldman's off-the-cuff lyrics experiment, while interesting, is something that I think hurt the band more than it helped. I can't connect to most of them. I want to, I just can't. And I know it's because they were off the cuff. I know Travis has said that he feels that your first instinct is always your best, but I'm pretty sure even he'd agree that that doesn't hold true for communication. Just think back to the conga line of times you were talking to someone in your life and said something that completely ruined what you were trying to say. Hey, would you like to go out to eat with me? Hey, would you like to go out to eat with me? Would you like to go out to eat with me? Would you like to... Hey, would you like me to eat you out? No!
What the fuck?
The choice to impulse write led to lyrical and vocal repetition in a way that doesn't seem like theme as much as accidental rehashing and overdoing. Again, repeating words and ideas accidentally isn't a big deal if it's spread out over time. And while what I'm saying may seem nitpicky, it's important to bring up because this kind of repetition within the same album gives the unintended impression that there's a lack of lyrical imagination in the band. And that bothers me, because once again, we know what Hoppus is capable of as a lyricist, and what's happened this time around isn't from lack of talent at all, it's from their adopted sped-up creative process. This record is almost like a buy one get one free deal, in that what you're getting for free with your new music is the band's baggage. For those who are familiar with the backstory, all the stuff that's been going on between the members of the band, the two are intertwined. This story is all really kind of seeped into my experience of the record. I was constantly trying not to think of anything Tom DeLonge related while listening to it because I wanted to be fair to this record. I kept thinking of Mark and Travis saying they wanted to reintroduce the world to what Blink is all about. I kept thinking of what the different subgroups of the fan base mean when they say they love Blink. And the biggest question that grew out of all the other questions: what exactly is Blink-182 to people? What makes up the identity of a band? It's an interesting question to arrive at because of the reactions I've been seeing that are really really quite odd. I've heard people say, it's not Blink without Tom. Others saying the equally valid, by that logic, it hasn't really been Blink since Scott Rayner left. And then the most interesting replies of, listen, if you can't accept that Tom's left and support the new music, then you don't really love Blink. What? A founding member, half of the songwriting team, leaving the band is not the same thing as your boyfriend making a drastic haircut change. Listen, if you can't love the do, you never loved me anyway.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
By that logic, I don't know what in the hell Blink-182 is to some people. If not the members that combine to make your musical Captain Planet, then what? I understand the idea of getting emotionally attached to a certain lineup and feeling that that is what you feel Blink-182 is. But if you're telling me you can support a band regardless of who's writing the tunes, I'm not even sure what exactly you're a fan of anymore. Your own entertainment, maybe? I'm of the opinion that Blink-182 melodically has always been the DeLonge-Hoppus songwriting partnership. Barker is invaluable and irreplaceable as well for what he's brought to the band, but I'm talking about melody right now. That to me is the core, and it came from the dynamics of Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonge's songwriting partnership. Once the dynamic that fuels the songwriting changes, once that DNA has changed, that music is gone. Because the mix and interplay of those two people is what created the thing we've come to recognize as Blink-182's music. Granted, we still have Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker there, so we got 66 point... This is a really bad time to forget that I'm not good at math. We still have 2/3 of the general songwriting mojo that's created the music that we love so much for the past 20 years, but it's not 100% of it. It's not complete. If it's not complete, if it's not whole, it is not it. It is not the thing. If your husband got hit by a bus and all that was left was his foot, you would not go out to restaurants saying, dinner for two, because he's not there. His foot is there. He is not his foot. So Mark and Travis are there. There is a part of it, but it's not complete. It could still be good, and the thing that you like could be imitated, and as this record shows, its recognizable traits can be duplicated. Whether you give a shit about that or not is a different story, but the fact remains that creative chemical reaction is no more. And I think the band's name should be left alone from that point on, out of respect for what it was. As Larry King would say, that's my 2 cents. But I do recognize this is a complicated topic from both our and the bandmates' point of views, and while I could say a lot more about it, we aren't immortal, so this is a good spot to wrap it up. California is out now. If you're looking for a light, mega catchy summer album containing a buffet of everything pop-punk and some delicious joke singles, this is for you. I'm happy for the members of the band that had a great time making a record they're proud of, and for those who end up hearing this as their first Blink record, because they, and only they, will really be able to go into this album with a complete, total sense of objectivity. As for the rest of us, well, we'll just have to make do with our feelings, because when it comes to the what is Blink-182 question, none of us are wrong. But none of us are right either. Ain't life a cluster f***? Hasta la bye-bye! Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please share, please subscribe. If you didn't like it, please share, please subscribe. If you're a racist, please share. Maybe don't subscribe.